In today's video, we're talking Hasbro and how they are or maybe are not handling G.I. Joe and Real American Hero. Let's get into it. So if you're a fan of our channel, and hopefully you are, and you've been watching all our recent videos, this is sort of a third video in a series of where we've talked about Hasbro, what they're doing in recent times. And the first video talked about Hasbro and its new Hasbro 375 HasLab initiative related to Tron and how that's kind of currently a disaster and why wasn't possibly G.I. Joe tagged to handle that 375 line, and hopefully are we ever going to see G.I. Joe a part of that. That discussed that video. The second video talked about, you know what, if we would ever see a Real American Hero HasLab ever return, and if we did see that return, we'd likely love to see it as the Cobra transport helicopter from the comic book series. Now, we don't know if that'll ever happen. I doubt it will, but that's something that came up. Now, this video is talking about, when you talk about everything that Hasbro is doing, it's kind of like they've kind of dropped the ball on a Real American Hero. You know what are they doing with it? How have they handled it? What have they done wrong? We're going to dive a little deeper into that. But first, if you do want to support our channel here, and we really do appreciate all your support, think about hitting that like button, and as well, think about hitting that subscribe button if you happen to be new to the channel. We do Transformers and G.I. Joe content here and talk action figures and Hasbro. And you know what? If you like that sort of stuff, stick around because we always have something weekly for you to watch. First things first, we have a bit of a disclaimer here. Look, I'm going to discuss G.I. Joe or Real American Hero in this video, but please don't get me wrong. This is not meant to say like, oh, this should be a replacement for G.I. Joe Classified. Classified is amazing. The G.I. Joe team is doing a very good job with G.I. Joe Classified. Of course, there's some hits and misses, but overall, it is a great job they're doing, and I don't want to see it go away. This video is more like, well, they should have did a bit more with a Real American Hero and how they kind of failed at it. And the thing is, as a collector, I like Classified, I like Real American Hero. I don't see an issue where they could have, you know, one-off product listings of Real American Hero to keep that line going with collectors like myself. Classified is the main line that we see at retail, but Real American Hero could still possibly be available via select items if Hasbro made it happen. So, you know what, diving right into this video, right away, I know I'm going to get comments saying that, dude, get over it, a Real American Hero is done for, Classified's the new way to go, and I understand that, and people out there in YouTube land, you're allowed to have your opinions. Classified is amazing. It has a numerous iterations right now, different waves and stuff like that, and it is a great line that they're producing. They're doing more vehicles, they're doing lots of HasLabs, they've got supporters, and this is an amazing line, so no doubt about it. Nobody's discounting that. Great line. So we do have to realize though that G.I. Joe Classified is made on the back of nostalgia from G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero. Almost everything you see in Classified has basically come from a Real American Hero, except for a handful of original characters. But you know what? This is the thing, right? The new hotness is 6-inch. And basically, you know, you got your Marvel Legends, your Star Wars Black Series, your G.I. Joe Classified, your McFarlane, your DC, all doing 6-inch. And the thing is, Hasbro owes a lot to a Real American Hero, and basically, you know, it debuted in the 80s and it basically saved Hasbro, and it was made them the king of the toy aisle because it had so much product for so long and it was number one. And for some reason, the people at Hasbro have kind of let it like sort of fade into the background and it's no longer relevant. And the thing, you know, I'm not saying that it should be replacing Classified, but it certainly still could kind of go skirt parallel to it. And I do think there's a fair number of hardcore collectors out there like myself that would definitely still be interested in both Classified and a Real American Hero. You know what? So this is kind of like the word highlighting what Hasbro's done, what they've kind of failed at doing. First up, I want to talk about something that I don't know what Hasbro was doing, but does anybody remember the G.I. Joe retro line that was on the shelves at Walmart several years ago? And I don't know what they were doing. I don't know who's in charge of that line, but somebody dropped the ball majorly, and I don't know. Look, the thing is, retro vintage toys have been hot for a number of years. Look at Masters of the Universe. Amazing. Redone out onto the shelves. You got classics. You got a bunch of different lines. Masters of the Universe is huge in the toy aisle. You got Transformers doing it. You got retro Generation 1 packaging with retro reissues in the box. And so like both, you know, these companies know that nostalgia is key. It triggers something inside of you and it makes you want to spend money on their product. And the G.I. Joe team is no different. But whoever was running the G.I. Joe team back then, I don't know what they were thinking, because they had an idea and they seen the goal line, but it just faded away. Now, of course, I am talking about these things right here. And, you know, right away what you'll notice is the retro packaging. And that is what draws your attention in on a product like this. For Masters of the Universe or even Transformers and G.I. Joe, it is that retro packaging that you grew up on and you instantaneously recognized back in the toy aisle back in the day. And stuff like this is what gets you in. But the thing is, that gets you in, but the toy has to make you stay. And the thing is with Hasbro and this particular line is that they sort of dropped the ball on this in my eyes, because the whole idea of a retro vintage toy is that it should invoke nostalgia on the toy as well. And in this case, Hasbro did the packaging. The packaging was amazing, but then someone decided that it was a great idea that they included a modern figure inside the box, thus breaking the vintage nostalgia of a nostalgia release. So I'm not really sure who came up with this idea. They did a whole line. They were very hard to find within Walmart. The distribution, like many Hasbro products, was horrible. And you know what? If that's Walmart's fault or that's Hasbro's fault, it doesn't really matter. The line wasn't great. And the thing is, people were buying it because that it was a G.I. Joe, a real American hero based product, but they necessarily weren't happy with it. Then Hasbro did something really weird. They basically cut the line, decided not to produce any more waves, and then relaunched the line with a new, more modern vintage figure inside the packaging, inside the box, and made it an online only Hasbro Pulse exclusive. So they removed it from retailers like Walmart, where it was getting exposure, and they only put it online. It can be seen as a big mistake when you're dealing with a niche product, because you're not getting that random exposure. People have to go to your website to see it. And they did these 2-packs of Duke and Cobra Commander, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, and then the Cobra Troopers and the Officer, and that they made them and these 2-packs, and they were only available online. Now, while the product inside the box got a bit better, the distribution made it worse for people, and they're only now available online. Now, there's a lot of people out there that don't like to shop online still, and you can see this because they don't actually pre-order a lot of their toys. So putting it online, remove it from retailers, was an issue. Making it a 2-pack, making it more expensive was an issue as well. So, but the thing is maybe, just maybe, if this line had been handled correctly from the get-go, and the vintage, more vintage style figure was actually inside the box and available at Walmart at a great distribution, I think this line could have been very successful and a great entryway to expand the G.I. Joe, a real American hero line. But unfortunately, the number of mistakes were made and Hasbro dropped the ball on this. Let me know, like, did you actually collect the line that was at Walmart, or did you skip that one? Did you move right to the Hasbro Pulse exclusive version, the 2-pack? Like, did you like either of these lines? Myself, I do have all the ones that are at Walmart, just because, I mean, they're Real American Hero. I had to pick them up. But I don't actually have any of the ones from Hasbro Pulse. I don't usually order from Hasbro Pulse. I've talked about it numerous times on my live streams or whatever. Anyways, so for me, I'm totally out on those more vintage figures. I'd love to have them, but I just haven't come across them as of yet. Anyways, let me know in the comments how you feel about that line of single pack figures and the 2-packs that were available online. So next up is another line that Hasbro tried to sort of incorporate, shoehorn G.I. Joe Real American Hero into, which is the Transformer crossover line. You're like, this is a G.I. Joe video. Why are you talking about Transformers for? Well, Transformers a few years ago was very famous for just doing crossovers with everything. And some of them are weird. They had X-Men, they had Stranger Things, Jurassic Park. They had a ton of crossovers, but one that really stuck was the G.I. Joe crossover line, which can be seen here. And basically this is an example of Cup and Leatherhead and Sergeant Slaughter in a 2-pack. It went with a Triple T, and basically, like, this is a pretty cool line. I'm gonna say this is a pretty cool line, and as a person who actually runs a Transformer and G.I. Joe channel, this is the ultimate product. I'm gonna be honest with you, this is pretty awesome. I'm sad to see that there haven't been more of these produced. There's only been 4 as of right now, as of this video. But that being said, while this is a win for me, this is not a win for some other people. And some other people would possibly be G.I. Joe Real American Hero collectors. See, the thing is, currently, you see down in the corner there, we've got Sergeant Slaughter and Leatherneck, and they are that more traditional O-ring type figure that I talked about earlier, that were available exclusive to Hasbro Pulse. But now, instead of making this line exclusive or to Hasbro Pulse or even available to anyone, they shoehorned it into this line. And basically, the only way you can get O-ring figures right now, currently, as if you invest in these very expensive Transformer G.I. Joe crossovers. So these are usually upward to $100, depending which ones you're trying to buy. And you know, it's the only way you can get these O-ring figures. So there's, you know, there's a few more pit figures kicking around depending on which ones in the different series. But the thing is, it's like, if you're a G.I. Joe Real American Hero collector, you might not be into Transformers. That is not a guarantee. So, like, for them to put such a hefty price tag on these figures, it really limits your ability to collect them, right? So the thing is, these figures could have easily been available independently, but instead they are indeed comboed in with the Transformers, which makes it an expensive purchase. And actually, for example, the Cup one and the Soundwave version, that was the one before that, they both have 2 O-ring figures. And I always find this interesting that Hasbro does this, because it actually, by including more figures, it actually drives up the price of the product, where maybe they just only needed to include 1. And, you know, if they still had made those individual O-ring G.I. Joe figures available via Hasbro Pulse or at retail, they could have offered them to collectors in a different manner. So for me, it's frustrating now, but like I said, for me, it's okay, because I actually run a G.I. Joe and Transformers channel, so it's an ideal product. I would actually like to see more of them, but I know there's a lot of G.I. Joe collectors out there that have been frustrated by basically the G.I. Joe figures being gate-kept as part of that Transformer line. What do you think? Have you, as a G.I. Joe collector, have you been collecting these Transformer crossover figures to pick up the O-ring figures? Maybe even possibly, I guess, selling the Transformer that you're maybe possibly not interested in. Now, of course, the Transformers do transform into 1-for-1 G.I. Joe vehicles, so that's kind of cool, but it's just interesting how Hasbro keeps on handling this a Real American Hero line, never fully giving it its own chance to survive. Now, lastly, what we're going to talk about is, I've actually mentioned this previously. I think I mentioned it in the first video of this series that I mentioned earlier, and that is G.I. Joe's attempt at a Real American Hero HasLab product. And that, of course, was the Sky Striker. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think that was a horrible decision. And I don't know where that came from. I think they really missed the point of HasLab back when that was released, when they were saying that they're supposed to be dream products. And that Sky Striker, when you boil it down, is basically a 1-for-1 reissue of the original vintage Sky Striker. And the thing is, for the price, you could probably get a really nice minty one for a similar price. I'd much rather have the vintage one than the reissued one. Now, of course, the reissued one did come with some extra products, some ground crew, some carded figures, some extra figures. But the thing is, like, it didn't have enough demand on it because I don't think it really fulfilled the idea of what HasLab was supposed to be at that time. It didn't have that dream product. That's why in my last video, I did a topic where I think if they were ever to go back and do a Real American Hero HasLab, they need to do something that really drives the community and makes them excited. And I do think the Cobra transport helicopter from the comic book fame would be that product. Now, I covered that in detail in my last video, so check that out if you haven't seen that already. But when it comes down to it, Hasbro, they don't seem to really care about the Real American Hero line anymore. And while I understand companies like Super 7 are doing O-ring figures, they are not the same. They're not the same quality. They're not the same build. They're just not the same. And I do miss a Real American Hero in its purest form. And I do think that there are enough collectors out there that it would be successful if Hasbro just threw us a bone every now and then. It doesn't need to be full lines, but you know what? Give us an exclusive item. Give us a San Diego Comic-Con item. Give us a New York Comic-Con item. Give us a Hasbro Pulse item. Give us something to keep that line alive and add to our collection. Not necessarily reissues, but I guess sort of what Super 7 started to do, where they started to do extra figures that were never produced. But I'm not a fan of the Super 7 product. I have to be honest with you. It's just, there's something about it. It looks like a toy of a toy. It's really hard to explain, where gijoe and Real American Hero figures look like action figures. But the Super 7, there's just something about it. It's not hitting with me. You know what, guys? I know I'm looking forward to the comments. I read every single comment. I usually try to reply to every single comment. So please leave your comments below. Do you like a Real American Hero? Do you still collect it? Do you wish it would come back, or are you done with it and you've moved on to classified? Let me know in your comments. Keep it nice. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this topic. That being said, if you missed the first 2 videos in this kind of ongoing series, I'll put them here. Check it out. And you know, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, continue watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Also, don't forget to check out the live streams. We do a live stream every Sunday night. It's a late night G.I. Joe and Transformer live stream. It usually happens at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come watch us. We'll have some fun. Talk to you later.